So we've been talking about radical vulnerability. Let's talk about it a little more. Sounds like a good concept. You open up, you let people know you, they open up, you get to know them, all the aspects of them, the good, the bad, and the ugly, the lost, the confused, the wondering. So, still, we are very careful and are cautious about not wanting to be vulnerable. Let's talk about why that is. I'm Dr. Sharon Eve. This is Topics in Psychology. I've been a therapist forever and walked people through every kind of issue imaginable, relationship ones, grieving ones, discovering who they are, having the courage to create a success out of their lives in a way they never imagined. I've seen a whole lot of things. So here are some thoughts for you to work out for yourself. Why it is that you're afraid to be vulnerable. What do you think people will see? We're so afraid of people's judgment. Why? Because we really love connection. We don't like relationships to end. We certainly don't like marriages to end. That's a whole other video I can talk about why people stay in marriages that are not good. There are good reasons why people do that, and also good reasons why people come to terms with something not being good and choose to leave. That's everybody else's choice. Why do we want people to not see certain things about us? What are you afraid they'll see? I've heard a lot of things over the years. People are afraid they'll be seen as stupid, as uneducated, as not very well read, or not very worldly. They're afraid that they'll be seen as selfish. Even though they might be pretty selfish, they really don't necessarily want people to think that of them. Maybe there are a lot of things that you don't know, a lot of things I don't know for sure. Are you concerned that if people know you don't know those things, that they'll judge you, that they'll throw you away, that they'll discard you, or anything else about how you look and how you think? And a big one is the families we've come from. I'm still amazed to learn from people the backgrounds they came from. And it's a miracle how they got to be where they are today. These people are the survivors of their childhoods. But we learn to hold a lot of shame. Shame of our family, shame of our history, shame of our culture, shame about so many things. So we're afraid that if we share those things, we might get judged, discarded, tossed away. We love connection. We love relationships so much. But is there a point where we're willing to compromise? We're willing to compromise essential parts of our being to be in what I would call pseudo relationships. They're just kind of pretend relationships. You look like you're relating, but it's on a very superficial level. It's not about caring for each other in all different kinds of circumstances. When you're sad, when you're lost, when you're angry, when you're thrilled that you've succeeded at something, where you've fallen in love. Have you noticed some people want to hear some things about you, but they really don't want to talk about other things? That's good information for you. Doesn't mean they have to talk about those things. It lets you know where there's room to be authentic in the relationship and where there isn't. So we would want to avoid being radically vulnerable until we can learn how to trust someone. Share a little bit, check and see what they do with it. If they understand, if you feel seen, if you feel cared about, then you might want to share something else. And if you share something vulnerable, and they share something vulnerable, okay, then you guys can keep deepening in what your sharing is. If you say something and they judge you and they're like, why would you do that? Or why did you even think that? All those why questions that have a lot of judgments in them. When you find out, when you share yourself, you find out who's on the other end of the conversation and you see the potential for the relationship. Do you have things in common? Is there room to go back and forth, not just one person talking about what's hard for them and the other person listening all the time, where there's no room or no interest in what they have to say? Out of balance relationships may not serve you very well. But if it's a relationship where you can share and they can share, and you have common things of interest that you like to do, that you're supportive of one another and encouraging of one another. I can encourage my daughter's boyfriend to go skiing whenever there's snow on the mountain. There hasn't been much snow this year, but when there's snow on the mountain, go ski. I don't ski. I never learned how to ski at my age. I'm sure I'll break something, so I'm not going to go skiing. But I love it when he goes, and he has so much fun. I really encourage that, even though it's not something that I would do. I see how happy it makes him. So, in your relationships, try your radical vulnerability. Share who you are, not the false self. Notice it's good for you to write down a list of all the things that you're afraid people will most judge you about. Often that's stuff we've made up in our head, or it's stuff that we experienced growing up. But maybe the people in our lives now aren't like our family of origin. Maybe they're psychologically healthier, more aware. And the last thing I want to leave you with is, it takes a lot of courage to be seen. It takes a lot of courage to be vulnerable, because it's a risk. We risk being understood or discarded or shamed. But that's the way you can find out who's on the other end, who would be a good, loving presence in your life. Love to hear any of your thoughts about this. What are you afraid people will see? Are there really good qualities of yours that you're afraid to show people, because then you would feel pressure to succeed and keep doing those things? Let me know how it shows up for you. Look forward to seeing you soon. Bye.